What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. My name is Mark Webster. If you're new to my channel, I make videos and tutorials here on YouTube to help you become a better filmmaker. This tutorial is sponsored by HP, so thank you to HP for supporting creators like me, but more on that later. In this video, I want to tell you guys top 5 tips or mistakes that I've seen and learned from my personal experiences to help you master your color grading in 2021. Color grading is a learning curve, it's a battle, and even after 10 years of filmmaking, I think I still am trying to find new ways and workflows to help me become a better color grader. I love watching different tutorials, especially here on YouTube, to help improve my craft. I think I found 5 tips that will help you become a better color grader in 2021. So let's get into it. And step number 1 is mastering your settings. Before you even start your editing, is go into Premiere Pro here and then go over to your sequence settings and just make sure that you're editing in the right color space. What happens with all these new cameras, and there's different picture profiles and color spaces, whether it's 2020 or Rec 709, and editing in H-log footage or standard footage, you really just want to make sure that your project settings in Premiere are exactly the way they're supposed to be. So if you go and right click your sequence and go sequence settings, you're able to make sure working color space is 709 or 2100 HLG, PQ. Basically just make sure that whatever you filmed in your camera is matching your sequence settings so that all the colors are showing as accurate. You don't want any differences because that's going to mess up your color grading process. The next tip to improve your color grading is take advantage of new technology. There's new cameras and computers coming out every week, it seems like, but what this new technology allows is for you to become a better filmmaker by taking advantage of these newer technologies. I do a lot of tourism work and travel quite a bit, so for me, power and mobility is the most important, and that's why I edit on the HP NV15 laptop. This thing is an absolute workhorse, and I'm so stoked to have been using it. This laptop is one of the best in the market for content creators like myself because of the 15.6-inch 4K OLED touchscreen display, Delta E2 color accuracy, NVIDIA GeForce RTX TM 2060 Max-Q design graphics. Having display specs and performance like this truly allows for an accurate color grading experience. When I was starting out in videography, I wanted to invest in a 4K monitor, but was disappointed with the lack of color accuracy when sharing my work to other devices and screen brightness when editing videos. The HP Envy's 400 nit OLED screen allows for deep blacks, bright whites, and accurate vivid colors, which I haven't experienced on any other editing computers. More than obsessing over export times and benchmark tests, when I'm looking for a new computer, I need perfect general performance. I've been shooting on the Sony a7S III, which produces large 4K 120 frames per second, 10-bit 422 footage, which was previously laggy on my old computer. The HP Envy chews through and delivers perfect smooth playback on my raw footage, as well as instant previews during the color grading process, all while staying cool. I don't think I've ever seen so much venting on a laptop before. This laptop features vapor chamber cooling, which keeps the fan speeds quiet and temperatures low during those video exports and intense workloads. Another feature that I've fallen in love with is HP's Quick Drop software, which allows you to wirelessly transfer photos, videos, and documents quickly between your mobile and your computer. There's even a shortcut from the DJI app so I can easily show a client a video after taking a shot. This is a great way to transfer those files without having to run any cables. Your exact configuration may vary based on where you purchase your laptop, but I don't think there's a better laptop that offers this much performance for a reasonable cost. Gone are the days of struggling while editing on the go. Whether in an airplane or at a coffee shop, with the HP NV15, you can bring the power of a desktop with you wherever you are. For filmmaking, photography, or music production, if you're a content creator, HP NV15 can handle whatever you throw at it. Thank you to HP for supporting creatives and making the perfect laptop for me. Tip number 2 is to watch your white balance. This is something that I've seen so often, and it's something that took me a really long time to actually start doing full-time in camera. What I used to do is just put auto white balance on everything. But what happens when you shoot in auto on your camera is that as you're turning to different light sources or you're going from outside to inside, your white balance is actually shifting super drastically, and that's affecting your colors. And unless you shoot in RAW, this is super difficult to fix in post. You can do it, it just never looks as good as when you nail it in camera. So when you're setting all your other settings of shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, it's really important to go in and do your white balance as well. And this is going to be a huge step into making sure that the colors that you're getting when you start your editing process are as accurate and look good as possible. The importance of this too is to tell a story as your video goes on over time. The light changes throughout the day. In the middle of the day, it's as blue as possible. At 12 noon, it's super bright, super blue, and then at sunrise and sunset in the golden hours, the light gets warmer. So you want to make sure, if you're doing tourism work like I am, is that the white balance is going with the time of the day, that you're not jumping around too much and going from super white to super blue and then back to warm again. I like to have a supernatural progression, so it starts off warm in the morning, goes to blue throughout the day, and then comes back to warmth at sunset as well. An example to show this is these 4 clips that I have in my timeline in Premiere Pro here, and making sure that the white balance has a bit of consistency so it naturally tells the time throughout the day. So this shot is a little bit too blue. You can see it in our RGB overlay here. The blue in the highlights is very evident. And then we got a little bit more blue, but we got a nice warm light, so skin tones look really good. And then this one, a little bit darker, warmer as the sun is setting. You can see a little bit of the golden light in the background. And then going into final shot, obviously at sunset, so it's gonna be as warm as possible. So to help have a little bit more consistency for a timeline like this, what I wanted to do is add a little bit of warmth to this beginning shot. And what I like to do is use the white balance selector, and you can just jump around to different spots, different areas in the clouds, maybe in the snow here. That's a little bit too warm because it's in the shadows. And sort of just bouncing around to see what looks the most natural. When we compare to our scopes over here, we can see that now we have a much more balanced highlights, and it completely changed the skin tones, making them look way more natural as well. So sort of like that, so we're up plus 12 and minus 4 on the tint. This feels way more natural and will help the consistency throughout the video by having this more even white balance. Tip number 3 is not utilizing masks, especially when it comes to color grading. There's so much you can do to apply selective adjustments to different areas of your video, whether that's the sky or faces or foreground, stuff like that. I do this a lot in photography, and it's something that I don't see as much in video as well. To show you guys an example of this, of how you can brighten up a foreground and draw attention to the subject, I got this clip over here of the 2 talent lying down on the ground. So what I want to do is add an adjustment layer over top of this. And I'll trim that to the clip. And in the adjustment layer, just increasing the exposure to brighten up the subjects. And then what I'm able to do in the effect controls is to apply a mask only on this adjustment layer. By adding a mask to this, I can apply adjustments only to what's inside of it to brighten up these subjects. Check this out. If you fill this mask just so it selects the subjects, and then I can add a feather to smooth this out, and it's going to draw the attention of the subject into the 2 talent here. So if I go like that, and then increase this feather to 300 so it's nice and soft. Move it around as needed. And if you go Shift E on this to preview the clip and disable it, just like that, you can draw so much more. Just like that, you can draw so much more attention to these subjects by brightening up different parts of the image. Tip number 5 is to be consistent with your colors. I think this is one of the hardest parts. It's the same thing with Instagram, where you're trying to curate your feed to make everything look good. It's the same thing when you're editing a video. You want to make sure that the skies have consistency across, or the color of blues, or the skin tones, for example. For me, when I do a lot of tourism work, this usually is the blue tone in the sky. When you're using ND filters and shifting your position around, you can get different hues in the sky. So when you're editing, I want to make sure that these stay as consistent as possible. This goes back to the previous tips of applying selective adjustments. So what I want to do is add a little bit more consistency to this timeline here, but make sure all the blues are a little bit more similar tone. So I got this clip in front of me here, which has a bright blue sky, but it was a little bit polarized from the polarizer I was using. So what I can do is scroll down, increase the brightness a little bit, increase the warmth of it to get it a little bit more teal. And then now, even that simple change is much more similar to the previous clip of blues. And then when we select the before and after, this adds consistency and helps tell the time throughout your timeline. And my last tip, I know a lot of filmmakers aren't going to want to hear this, but to stop using LUTS. This is something that is super fun and exciting when you're starting off your filmmaking journey, because you can apply so many different styles so quickly and get these colors that you've never seen before. But the more work that I do, the less I'm actually using LUTs, and the more I'm just doing custom color grades and really using your eyes to determine what looks good, what isn't good, what you want to change, instead of just hoping that a LUT is going to do it all for you. Because the reality is every clip is completely different, every lighting situation that you're shooting in is completely different, and one LUT isn't going to solve all your problems across all your clips. So what I'm really trying to do this year especially is to not use LUTs and to really develop your color grading process to create the colors that you want to create in your clips. That is all the tips I have for you guys today to become a better color grader in 2021. Hopefully these tips will help you improve your craft like they have for me. I love the color grading process and developing a new workflow, and these will hopefully help you become a better filmmaker. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.